Hello everyone, nice to meet you again. Today we're going to discuss another type of test in SPSS for our statistical analysis in our research with me, Pak Fit. And the name of the test is Mann Whitney U test. What is this? So it relates to your intentions if you would like to do analysis using independent t-test. You know, independent t-test is a test that you will apply first for doing experimental research with a type of quasi-experimental design. So if your research is trying to compare between two groups post-test score, so you will apply independent t-test. For example, you would like to know whether the class that apply AI tools to learn writing will outperform or maybe have better impact than the class B that apply traditional method for learning writing. So you will compare the post-test score between two classes by using independent t-tests. So independent t-tests have some requirements as I mentioned in previous meeting, that the data must be normally distributed and the data must be in a very clear interval or ratio data, and the data must be homogeneous or they pass the homogeneity test of variance. However, sometimes if we have to do the two tests, the normality and homogeneity, the data is not normally distributed, then it's time for us to apply Mann-Whitney U test. So sometimes it happens like the data is normal, but the homogeneity test showing that the data is not homogeneous. So use Mann-Whitney U test when first the data are not normally distributed or the data in the form of ordinal scale. So if you remember when we discussed about Spearman correlations test, so we learned about the name of data called as ordinal data. So what is ordinal data? It's the data where it is spread in the form of Likert scale, rank, or the range between one things to another things are not similar with another thing with any other things. Or even, for example, if the data in the form of rank, so the rank 1 and rank 2, they have different range with rank 2 and rank 3. Since some variables deals with the psychological factors like motivations. Okay, so when you look at the picture on the right below side, so you can see if your study is trying to do independent t-test or doing experimental study with the type of the experimental study is quasi, but the data is not homogeneous and also not normal, so you can apply option B, that you can do a non-parametric test. So for independent t-test, so you can apply Mann-Whitney U test. Now let's have a real practice. I need you to open your Excel and your SPSS. So in Excel, I have collected 10 participants from each group. In experimental group, I have 10 students, and in a control group, I also have another 10 students. So I have the score from both groups, the experimental and control group for their writing achievement. So you can type the score. I'll give you some minutes. Please do it and insert the data into your SPSS. And in SPSS, you can see in the middle picture that the data of the score are gathered in the same column. So the first group will be the score for the experimental groups, and the rest, number 11 to number 20, will be the score for the control students in a control group. And please give a group number, a group code. So for experimental group, I give a code of 1, and for control group, I give a code of 2. So in this case, if you have submitted all the score into the SPSS, so you can follow these steps. First, you have to click the button of Analyze. Then you can select non-parametric test. Then you can select Legacy Dialogues. then you can go to independent samples. After that, you will see a box, then insert the score part. In here, the score means the writing score to the test variables list. And the class, in here, I give the label of the second column as class, but it's actually up to you. You can change the class with groups and then put these things into a group variable. And then to make it easier, just make sure that the code for experimental group will be 1, and then the code for control group will be 2. So after you insert the class code to the group variable, you can click define group. Then you can type the code of the class 1 for group 1, 2 for group 2. Then click continue. Make sure that you tick Mann, Whitney, you, and then click OK. So if you follow the step correctly, then you will see the result like this one. Okay, so to make sure that you understand on how to give code and what should be inserted into a real part in SPSS, so you can look at the picture on the middle right of the screen. So you can see that writing score is inserted into the box of test variables list, and the class is inserted into grouping variable. And you can see from the screen, from the screenshot, that I ticked test type. The name is Mann, Whitney, you. Then after that, if you already have a similar, what is that, uh, looks like this one, so you can click OK. Then the result will be like the screenshot that you can see on the left below sides. So you can see that Mann, Whitney test, the result is like that one. So the end shows that how many participants, how many students joined this research. Then we can see from class 1 or experimental group, there are 10. For class 2, there are 10. So the test statistic, we can see that asymptotic two-tailed shows 0.00. It means that this is below than or lower than 0.05. So from this case, we can see that there is a significant difference or effect between the two groups, the experimental and control group. So applying a certain strategy to this group, the experimental group, give a positive impact or significant impact to the writing score. So for wrapped up, use Mann, Whitney, you when the data are ordinal. For example, Likert, ranking, categories with order. So to make it clearer, you can also go to the previous video about Spearman correlations. Then you can use Mann, Whitney, you when you want to compare two groups in an experimental study. However, the score of the prerequisite test, normality and homogeneity, the result shows that the data was not normal and the data were not homogeneous. And the distance between values is unclear or unequal. So if you think the data is not showing a very solid range between the first data to another data, so use Mann, Whitney, you. And the data do not meet the parametric assumptions, not normal and not homogeneous, and the data should be more than 30 or even 50 or even 100. The more you have the data, the better your study will be. So this is about the Mann, Whitney, you. So please try to practice some data. You can modify the numbers for practice. Then you can also practice to interpret the result of the statistical analysis using SPSS. Thank you so much and have a nice day.